What I'm about to share might seem really simple and unbelievable. I totally get it. That was me when I first decided to lose some weight. I, did the things, ate less, worked out more. And you know what happened? I gained weight. And a dear friend of mine said, hey, I see all the effort you're putting in, but what if you ate more and worked out less? And I was just like, yeah, that's not how it works. It's never worked that way. You don't know what you're talking about. I need to work harder. I need to be more dedicated because, if you really want it, you will put in the time, you will put in the effort, and I'm willing. I can discipline myself. I can make sure I motivate myself. I can do the hard stuff. And I did. I doubled my workouts. I double timed them, and I continued to gain more weight. And it was about 2 years into my journey that I was like, I've heard this advice more than once. Maybe I need to give it a try. And so I did. Darn it. I was really irritated because I lost 23 pounds because I worked out less and I ate more. It didn't make sense to me. I was like, that's not what I've been taught. But what happened is it had me thinking about what else am I doing to help myself that I'm actually doing the opposite, where I'm not getting the results I want because of what I'm doing. And I had a bigger goal than any number on this scale. And that was to not be such a cranky person, because I felt there was so much stress on me that I would get cranky, I would get snarky, and not snarky in the fun way. And I wanted a better relationship with myself. I wanted a better relationship with my husband. I wanted to have more time to do things. I didn't want to feel so stressed all the time. And so I had done all the things that somebody 5 years ago would have done. And I had the gratitude journal, and I had the meditation apps, and I did mindset work, reframed, and I journaled, and I did yoga, and I went for nice long walks, and I did all the stuff, right? And you know what? I got minimal results. Sometimes I get a little bump, and then there's nothing. And sometimes I really wasn't getting anything. And so I, kind of like with the working out, I doubled down on things, and I still wasn't getting the results. I still felt so cranky. And actually, I was a little bit more miserable in some ways because I knew I was now aware of how miserable I really was. So I had practiced all that awareness, and I was like, I didn't have any idea. I was so freaking miserable, but I am. No wonder I'm cranky to everybody. But I couldn't find a solution to get out of it. I struggled. And so, like with the weight loss, I thought, what is an opposing position to mindset? So if I didn't try to reframe the thoughts or think things on purpose, what would the opposite of that be? Or just another viewpoint? And so I started thinking about my body. And so I started collecting information on what was my body doing when I felt really good, and what was my body doing when I didn't feel so good. So like the times where I felt uplifted and light and that things felt a little bit easier, what was I doing then? Like from things that I was sensing, like on my skin, inside my body, but also the practical things. What were the movements? Were my arms close to my body? Were they away from my body? Were they on my head? Were they on my chin? Did I raise my eyebrows? What did I do? My shoulders, where were they doing? What ached? What didn't ache when those things were happening? And I did it for both when I felt up and when I felt heavy or dragging or drained, without trying to get into labels of when I feel sad or when I feel angry or anything. I tried not to label it. I tried to just think of it as sort of like energy flow, essentially, is how I kind of looked at it. Because I didn't want to get bogged down with, oh, well, this word means this and this word means that. I wanted to kind of keep it kind of loose. So I didn't put a negative connotation for something that sometimes feels heavy, because sometimes when something feels heavy, it feels appropriate that it feels heavy, and I don't mind it. So I was trying to not put too much judgment, but collect information. I was trying to be the observer. And so I started collecting all of that. And then I was like, let's experiment. What if when I feel like a little bit more of a heavy thing, I'm dragging, I might feel a little bit lower. I don't have to be fully stressed out. It just, where something feels a little bit, logy. And what if I put my body in a position of when I felt really more light and airy? What would happen? And that's what I really just wanted to know. It's kind of like, what would happen if I cut my workout time in half? What would happen if I added 200 calories to what I'm eating? And that's what I did here. It's like, let's just see what happens. It's not invasive. I'm not going to hurt myself. I can only help myself. So why not try it, right? So that's what I did. I started experimenting and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Something's going on here. This is really interesting. And I started exploring it more so. I was like, when my body is in this position and I'm focusing on something and I'm really working at it, doing whatever it is that I'm doing, oh my gosh, no wonder my neck hurts. I am trying so hard to keep every part of my body so still so I can focus. I'm not moving. So I'm not really like tensing up, but I'm still, it's like this low grade of holding everything in place while I'm trying to focus. No wonder my muscles didn't have a chance to uncontract. It was just this low grade stuff that was really eating at my day. And so I started experimenting with adding what I consider flow. So I always thought of it as almost like flow and focus. So flow is the light, easy. Focus is where it feels dense or still. And that's kind of how I started separating the two. So that way I didn't have to think about, because a focus work can be actually really good to have, right? So I didn't want it to be heavy as in like a negative thing, because there's times where I won't want to do the focus work. I need to do the focus work to get to where I want to go. And so, but I started looking at, how do we balance these? How do they come together and harmonize? And this is my first experiment that I did, where I actually logged data on it. I used to review almost all the resumes of all the students at the school where I was teaching, at least in that one level. And sometimes we would do it every quarter, and sometimes I would have 200 to 300 students. It's a lot of resumes to go through. So I'd have to time it so I could block out my own time. Or if I was going to request extra help, I had to be able to tell the person who was helping me how much time it would take. So when I first got this assignment, I started timing it. It took me somewhere between 11 and 15 minutes per resume. They're so personal. They take a lot of time to go through and really kind of review and give good comments back to students who maybe have never written a resume before. And so that's roughly 55 to 75 hours if it takes me 11 to 15 minutes. 55 to 75 hours. That's like a month's of work, right? Almost? No, two weeks of work, right? It's intense. So I was like, this is the perfect thing. I have data on this. I'm going to try it out. So what I started to do was I did 5 resumes, and then I did 1 minute of a flow activity. So I had these activities that I designated as flow because when I did them, I felt light and I felt airy, right? So I didn't even have to know completely what my body was doing, but I just knew when I did them, I felt up. And one of the things that was my go-to, yep, you guessed it, doodle birds. I made a lot of doodle birds. You can make a lot of doodle birds in 1 minute, and that's what I did. But then sometimes I would throw in other things like walking around, or I had a flask for my water on my desk, and I would get like, oh, what if I could open this behind my back, and drink it in some unusual way and get a little bit creative. It was just fun and it was silliness. It was 1 minute and that was it. And then I would go back to it. And oh my gosh, I went from 11 to 15 minutes per resume to 7 to 8 minutes. I was like, whoa, maybe they're just better students. Yeah, nope, that wasn't it either. I went back and I re-looked. The resumes were still some good, some not so good. So then I did it again and I got better at it. I just kept adding them in there. I started adding more flow activities. I became more aware of things. Like anything else, the more you practice, the better you get. And I got it down to the resumes were taking me 4 to 6 minutes. Originally 11 to 15 and now 4 to 6 minutes. That's more than half. I mean, I went from 55 to 75 hours to 20 to 30 hours. It was awesome. And then I started trying it out in other things, other parts of life with the same results, either reclaiming time or having more energy. And that was the best part. I mean, saving time was really awesome, but the best part was when I got home, I didn't feel exhausted. I was ready to go and do something with my son. My husband and I had more conversations. Like this had expansion to it. It wasn't just for that task. It helped me in all the things that I actually was looking for to reduce stress, have a better relationship with me, not be a cranky person, have a better relationship with my husband, and have more time. It was awesome. It was so easy. It took very little effort. It was just about rearranging and reconfiguring things. So if this is something that you want to try for yourself, find your flow activity, whatever that is, simple. Don't make it hard. Do it 1 minute every hour and see what happens to your energy levels over time. Over the course of a week, if you keep that up, you're going to have fun and you're going to feel lighter and things are going to feel easier. And the more you do it, the more you work this into just your normal way of being, the better it's going to get. I promise. It works for everybody that I have shared this with. And if you're looking to start 2025 killing it, you can join me on November 13th doing a workshop where we're going to talk about our goals, but our goal planning beyond the numbers, beyond the actual goals, beyond the tasks that you're doing for the goals. We're going to talk about the undercurrents, the things that are happening in your life that you have access to right now, whether that's a limited belief, if it's a nuisance, or something good that you have that you can leverage that you haven't thought about leveraging, like your body position when you're in flow. Those kinds of things we're going to talk about so that when 2025 comes around, you have this time to practice over these next couple of months to condition yourself to just hit the ground running. And it's free. There'll be a replay if you can't attend live. And there's going to be some kind of gift. I just don't know exactly what it's going to be. So you can sign up below in the comments.